When Metal Gear Solid released in 1998, early 1999, depending on the regions on the PlayStation, this, along with some other titles of that generation, helped to literally change the face of gaming. Make no mistake about that. The game was incredible for what it offered. Falling off the back of older games in the series that would have been seen on the likes of earlier game systems. But Metal Gear Solid took everything to a whole new level. But even with that, it was also one of the first true games to really invoke a sense of movie style quality into the experience. But even with that, excellent storytelling and screenwriting that was beyond anything really seen on the console or any type of video game at that time. Like, we had seen games come before it and even after it that tried to appeal to certain dynamics while had good gameplay, but the acting wouldn't have been as good. But this here, when we really think about it, was the complete package, because graphically it was incredible. The level of detail was astonishing for a PS1 game. The tone, everything that it was going for was just leaps and bounds beyond anything else. But it just felt like an interactive movie. There was nothing really like it at the time. There really wasn't. And the story was so invoking and intriguing that it just drew you in. You always wanted to know what was going on. Like, when this game was announced, even leading up to it, like, the hype to this game was real. It was one of the most hyped games probably ever. And when it released, like, if I'll be brutally honest, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, while there has been later sequels with 2, 3, 4, and they're all excellent titles, even with 5 and a couple of spin-offs, it's very hard to beat the original game. I think the original game definitely was the one that set the standard, and it's still the go-to game in terms of references with regards to other games of a similar caliber. It just is a masterpiece in every regard, say both in visual, storytelling, action, gameplay, you name it, this game has it. The fact is as well that the game was spanned over 2 discs. There was loads of replay value with hidden secrets to explore and unlockables that you could gain access to the more you played the game, which only heightened the longevity of the experience. Like, if you go through anyone's list of the top 10 all-time games that they would ever have played in the PlayStation, this could quite possibly be number 1 on that list for many. And there are a lot of games out there that do hold that caliber, but this is definitely up there with them. It's definitely in most people's top 5 or even top 3 for that matter. It just appealed to so many different audiences, both young and old. Even younger audiences wanted to play this game, even though they probably wouldn't have been allowed to back in the day. But this game just really had so much appeal that it was too hard to ignore, in all fairness. The fact is that you could manipulate everything within your surroundings, and the fact is that you had to be self-aware of everything that was going on around you, that every choice that you made had some sort of reaction or consequence with regards to other characters that you interacted with, was something that you often didn't see in games. We did have some of these elements when you look at the likes of Tenchu on the PlayStation 1 as well, that came out in and around the same time as this, that focused on ninja style elements, were using stealth as the main core mechanic, and that was also an excellent game which I have covered in a previous video. I'll leave a link in the description so that you can check it out. But aside from that, this game utilised all of those elements, what took it to a whole new level. The fact is that it mixed it in with an almost interactive movie to a degree. Great voice acting, great use of sound design, effects. Now, the quality of this game was just leaps and bounds beyond anything else, and like I've said that probably numerous times now at this stage, but there isn't enough I can't say about the game, because you can't really find anything bad about it. It is a masterpiece in all regards. And the reality is, most of us playing this game pretty much all know the story at this stage, to see Snake infiltrating Shadow Moses Island to try and gain information regarding a new nuclear weapon style project, only to find out later that it is a new Metal Gear project that will see you exploring environments, taking out enemies, using stealth, gathering weapons and resources, but also avoiding detection in order to progress, while also trying to put a stop to this nuclear threat. It's just an incredible game outright. There's so many little hidden secrets, quips, nuances. There's more than enough replay value here to keep you playing for a long time. Like, even though there was a later remake of the game that was added to the Nintendo GameCube, and for all intents and purposes, yeah, there's people that like it and there's people that don't, but I think if anyone was to pick the definitive version, it has to be the PlayStation edition. Even with the fact is, with so many core and interesting mechanics, even when you get to the likes of the Psycho Mantis boss fight, the fact is that it can read information off of your memory card and it can actually affect the control system of how you play. So the only solution to that, or workaround, is if you didn't have the memory card and you couldn't read exactly what to do, so you couldn't control the scenario Mario, so that was your only advantage out of it. But the fact is, all of those aspects that were there, it brought so much creativity to the landscape of games at the time that was never seen before that, in fairness. The game truly just is incredible. I can't say any more about that. Like, in fairness, right, this game did come out in late 1998, but it came out at the right time, because when you think of it, 1998 is often considered by many to be one of the greatest ever years in the video games industry, with some of the greatest titles to be released, especially on the PlayStation. Like, it was insane, the games that were being released. You had Metal Gear Solid, you had Gran Turismo. While it was released originally in 97 in Japan, it didn't get released over in Europe and North America until 1998. You had Colin McRae Rally, you had Resident Evil 2. Like, the caliber of games that were being released at this time was astounding, and they were all high quality games, and many of them being the first entry into the series on the console, which was even more incredible, to a point that they literally set the standard and changed everything that came after it. Like, Gran Turismo set the standard for racing games, Colin McRae Rally set the standard for rally games moving forward. Like, the only game that bettered it was its sequel, Colin McRae 2, but you still can't take away the fact that the first game is just a masterpiece in its own right, and still one of the best games ever on the console. You'd, like, say, Resident Evil 2, everyone's favourite out of the 3 original Resident Evil games in the series, and one of the best survival horror games ever made. That again set its own standards. And then Metal Gear Solid, like, could I say any more, really? And then there was a lot of other games on top of that I haven't listed here. It was just insane. In fairness, it really was. It was just a great time for video games across the board, because it was taking everything that was experimental, that had started off in the years prior leading up to this period, and it took everything that was good and everything that didn't work, but they expanded on it and made it work to a point that you have, without a doubt, some of the finest masterpieces ever in games that have still never been bettered even to this day. So a lot can be said for it, and I'm sure you have your own stories to share of this game and even the other games released around this time. Like, I could go on and on about how good this game is, which we all know, but I would love to hear your stories of Metal Gear Solid, and what did you think of it back in the day? Which game in the series is your favourite overall, more to the fact? So it will be interesting to hear your opinions on it, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around more legendary games like this that were also released on the console over the years, then you can check out this playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.